but I wanted to honor my former wife. So I said, I'm going to get a tattoo of my former wife here with a crown and say my queen, her name was Ebony, and her name. I said,
at this point, the Dear Future Wifey podcast, it need to be called Humiliate My Wife podcast.
Hey beautiful people, how you all doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome to my channel. How have you all been? Hope you guys are doing great. So you guys remember that Dear Future Wife podcast, that podcast that has a yellow seat where two couples sit? There's another one that is going viral now that is getting people talking. And yes guys, the same thing when I saw it, I was like, oh my God. So yes, that same podcast that the woman was ironing her husband's clothes to go and see his side chick, that same podcast. That same podcast that the man came and said, my wife was not my spec. I didn't like her. I like them skinny, light skin. That same podcast. And now this one, this man decided to leave his ex-wife's picture all over the house. Decided to get his ex-wife's tattoo on his arm, even though tattoo was not his thing. And also he went on to say that he was testing his new wife to see how his new wife was going to react. This podcast is really running, like really opening a lot of things, and a lot of time people are like, if that is what the Lord, they're bringing God into it, saying God is the reason why they stay and take all this kind of things. Anyway guys, let's go check out this clip that's gotten people talking, people's response to it, and then we'll come back and talk more.
When we were dating, he was still grieving. When I would come to the house, her pictures and stuff is everywhere. Didn't bother me none.
Why not?
Because I understood, Siobhan, though this is your husband, he still got to go through his process. And how do I look saying, all right, let's put away her memory, I'm here now? That would be so silly. 20 years with this woman, that's not going to just leave you.
yeah, exactly.
So I honored her too.
And if he could discard her that quickly, it's setting the precedence of how quickly he'll
do
be able
me.
to discard you.
I guess you can call it a test too. When we was dating.
Okay.
First thing I said, well, I've never been into tattoos or anything, but I wanted to honor my former wife. So I said, I'm going to get a tattoo of my former wife here with a crown and say my queen, her name was Ebony, and her name. I said, how would you feel about that? Because you would have to wake up to that every day, seeing it. And psychologically, for a woman, that's many not going to do that.
No.
I don't care how you've been.
I don't care how anointed, saved, whatever you was. You be like, hold on now. That's just too much.
She said, no, you've been with your wife for 22 years. She's like, of course, you honor her. Because I didn't expect that response, really. But it was like a test, like, okay, all right, I can move forward with this.
Did you get a tattoo?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
And I watched him get
Yeah, she was right on FaceTime. She was coming from preaching at the airport, so in between her layoff. She laid over. She was watching.
I said, I love how he honored her. That made me look at him in a whole nother way. This man is integral. And he didn't take pictures down. The church, I'll be coming into it, because remember him and his wife, they pastored. Pictures are down. He didn't take the things down. I didn't force him to do it until he was ready.
How did you know you was ready to take it down?
Well, one, I understand feelings. We relaunched the ministry with us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want her to still keep coming in and seeing that, although she's okay with it.
Yeah.
I understand that, it's time to take that down. I'm still going through my grieving process, where she understood, but I'm not going to keep it there for it to remind you. Because the guy is now giving me something new.
There it is.
How can I move to the new if I'm keep trying to hold on to the old?
You better talk about it, King.
Now, I know what some of y'all think. Some of y'all thinking, not again. Because when this came across my timeline, I was thinking the same thing. Not only am I looking at the podcast host a little sideways, because I feel like he know what he be doing when he be bringing these people on his show, but I'm looking at some of you women sideways. Because it makes me wonder, like, are we to the point where we will literally do anything to be in a marriage or a relationship. Because I do understand that people grieve differently, right? Like, we all have our ways of coping with grief. But to me, it makes more sense to get past the grieving stage of your ex-husband or ex-wife before we move on to the next phase of being with your next husband or wife. Because you mean to tell me, out of all the ways you could honor your ex-wife, which was the mother of your children, you felt, oh, I'm not into tattoos, but let me get a tattoo to honor her that says my queen, her name, on my shoulder while I'm married. And I'm really looking sideways at this man because his response to why he took the pictures down was because he understands people's feelings. That should have been the thought process before you got that tattoo, though. See, I think we really need to normalize treating people how we want to be treated in these relationships, because I'm willing to bet that he would not be okay with her tattooing her ex-husband's face on her arm and saying, this is my king. This is how I'm going to honor him. Child, make it make sense.
If it refers to you, then it refers to you.
Period.
And a hit dog will holler.
You call it a test too, but I wanted to honor my former wife. So I said, I'm going to get a tattoo of my former wife here with a crown and say my queen, her name is Ebony, and her name. I said, how would you feel about that? Because you would have to wake up to that every day, seeing it.
Did you get a tattoo?
Yeah, I got it. And I watched them get.
At this point, I hope to put a 300% tariff on microphones, because the only time you guys want to sit in front of one is when a woman is being humiliated and embarrassed. Every week it's the same thing. Some couple where some married woman is talking about all she sacrificed in order to be a wife. And if the single women in the audience wouldn't put up with what they put up with, then quote unquote, that's why you're single. It's one thing if he already had the tattoo and he was married for 22 years and you're like, you know what, I can't worry about what's already done. But the man got the tattoo with you right there. Why didn't he decide to get the tattoo in the 22 years that he was married? Why did he wait until he met you to finally get the tattoo? Because like he admitted, it was a test. He wants you to know that she is the number one love of his life. He had you coming into his life knowing that you were second and that you always will be. He said he wanted you to wake up every day to see the tattoo of her, to remind you of your place in his life. If he knew he needed more time to grieve, he should have told that to you up front and asked you to give him more time. Why is it always the man talking about all the humiliation that his wife was willing to go through in order to become his wife?
I wanted to honor my former wife. So I said, I'm going to get a tattoo of my former wife here with a crown and say my queen, her name was Ebony, and her name. I said, how would you feel?
I say this respectfully because his wife or his ex-wife is no longer here with us, but there's this word called consideration, and this is not being considerate to your new spouse at all. I think it's ironic in the caption of the video. It says, can we normalize healthy relationships? There's nothing healthy about sitting up there testing your new girlfriend, talking about, I'm gonna get another woman's name tatted on me, respectfully, because she's no longer with us. I don't know what it is about this specific podcast, but the last couple clips have just been a humiliation ritual in every dynamic, and it's always the guy making the girl look silly. A couple weeks ago, we had a brother sitting up here talking about how he had cheated on his fiance the day before they got married, and then in the video, the new wife is talking about how she was helping him cheat. I don't know what y'all got going on, but it is not healthy.
How would you feel about that? Because you would have to wake up to that every day, seeing it.
I don't know if I'm missing something because I'm young, but where's the accountability for the lady? Because these will always do what they want to do and always do these heinous things. I get that, and I'm the first to call out. But at some point, where do we draw the line? Because this woman is like a representation of like grown women who are still in cycles of like low self-esteem and letting things slide, and we could blame it on religion or different aspects of it, but where do we draw the line? Because she represents a generation of women that may possibly be bringing up another new generation of women who repeat the same cycles of low self-esteem, making bad decisions. Where's the accountability of it all? Because we can always say like these people shouldn't be doing these things to us, which is extremely true, and we need to do everything we can in order to make sure that they're not doing these things to us. But where do we leave from when they do these things to us? Why did she stay? I need to know her reasoning.
With us, you know, I wouldn't want her to still keep coming in and saying that, although she's okay with it. You know, I understand that, it's time to take that out. I'm still going through my grieving process. where she understood, but I'm not going to keep it there for us.
In a nutshell, this is all so exhausting. My conclusion to the whole situation is I believe that he probably should have waited a little bit longer instead of marrying or being with someone and her having to be so understanding through this process. Grieving is something that it is continuous. It doesn't end. But the testing, the tattoo, all of these things to me is just, I think it's very dangerous. I think that being understanding of someone that lost a spouse is admirable, right? It's great. But it's okay to just be the person's friend until they're ready, instead of like being their partner. And I don't know. I mean, I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's just exhausting.
At this point, the Dear Future Wifey podcast, it need to be called Humiliate My Wife podcast. Because what are these people doing? I just saw one video where this man waited till he got married to his second wife, I guess, his new wife, to get he said something about he was getting a tattoo of his former wife so she could wake up to that every day. What? Like, these the men we marrying now? What? My goodness. We gotta do better. It is not a punishment to be single. Single is not a curse. Have y'all read Tony Gaskin's book, Single is Not a Curse? Please go read it. Single is your time to focus on you. Single is your time to be loving on you, to be building your relationship with God, to be doing the things you love, to be understanding your value, your worth, so you don't be settling for bummy men like this. Men who think they could just play in your face and you take it. The only reason why you taking it, the only reason why you accepting it is because you don't know your value, you don't know your worth, you don't love you, baby. And that's why you settle for men like this. Trust me, I've settled for these type of men. Why? Because I didn't love myself, because I was unhealed, because I was looking for love in all the wrong places. Stop settling for these bums and then staying in it to suffer, thinking that's what God wants. Y'all love bringing God in mess like this. Baby, God didn't do this. Satan did. Oh, Lord, at this point, God, please keep these type of men away from me. I cancel that podcast immediately. It need to go.
If the Dear Wifey podcast isn't the definition of toxic, then I don't know what is. Because what do you mean you got a tattoo of your ex-wife while you were dating and trying to marry your new wife?
You can call it a test too. When we was dating, first thing I said, well, I've never been into tattoos or anything, but I wanted to honor my former wife. So I said, I'm going to get a tattoo of my former wife here with a crown and say my queen, her name is Ebony, and her name. I said, how would you feel about that? Because you would have to wake up to that every day, seeing it. And psychologically, for a woman, many not going to do that.
Did you catch what he said? He said he was not into tattoos. Then why would you want to get a tattoo now? This man didn't get a tattoo while he and his ex-wife were dating. He didn't get a tattoo while he and his ex-wife were married. He didn't get a tattoo while he and his ex-wife were separated and divorced. He waited until he was in a whole new relationship with a new woman to get a tattoo of his ex-wife. Make it make sense. You can't, because it don't. Notice he mentioned the psychological toll that it would have taken on his new partner. That goes to show you he thought about it. He sat down and thought about it. Still, he saw no problem putting her through what could possibly be psychologically challenging for her. And the host is there kikiing and laughing at this woman's expense. I think the worst part of this is her justifying the mistreatment that he put her through. Because I think a lot of us grow up as women thinking that mistreatment is just physical. But that mental stuff, mental stuff be hitting, okay?
When we were dating, he was still grieving. When I would come to the house, her pictures and stuff is everywhere. Didn't bother me none.
Why not?
Because I understood, Siobhan, though this is your husband, he still got to go through his process.
I don't know, food for a thought. But if a man is still grieving his past relationship, baby, he is not ready for a new one. Hear me out. I don't care what a woman looks like. I don't care what kind of physical attributes of society that a woman does not fit into. No woman deserves to be treated like this. No woman deserves to have to go through and navigate hard and struggle and pain in order to say, I have a man, or I have a relationship, or I'm in love. This don't make no sense to me.
You know, with every clip that I see of the Dear Future Wifey podcast, I am reminded of one of the many reasons why I denounce Christianity altogether. And it's because I do not like the conditioning of women in Christianity. I don't like it. I don't like how Christianity as a construct romanticizes the struggle and suffering of women, especially when it is in proximity to servicing a man. I can't stand that. I don't like the concept of praising a woman for sacrificing so much and suffering through her husband's antics in a way that he would never suffer through if the shoe were on the other foot. What the hell? If your wife was mourning her husband who just passed, and she came to you and said, babe, I want to get a tattoo of my deceased husband's name on my arm with a crown on top. You mean to tell me you're gonna be okay with that? If your wife came to you and said, hey babe, do you mind ironing my dress as I get ready to go see my side piece? You're gonna pull out the ironing board, ready to go? Oh, and I get it, these are extreme examples, but like, even on smaller scales, I don't like that Christianity does not preach to women self-preservation, worrying about you, not giving so much of yourself to the point of self just depletion. I don't like that that isn't a message. I don't like that the message is instead to give in ways that are unhealthy to a man. I don't like it. It's not healthy, and it has Christian women out here thinking that the key to being honored by God is to give this man parts of you that should nobody have. But you know what? I digress.
Please go ahead and share your thought. Love to know what you think about this conversation down in the comment section. But as always, you guys know how we do it here. We keep it respectful here on this channel. We're allowed to disagree, but we do it in a very respectful way, okay? So please feel free to share your thoughts. We're just here to have conversation. We don't tussle here, okay? So here's my thought on like this Dear Future Wife podcast is really like giving me the ache at this point. But I feel like these are things that we need to continue talking about so that the next generation and even other women, maybe the team will click, the blinders will fall, and they will realize like, what the heck am I? What the heck is this? Because a lot of the time when these women are sitting on the podcast and these men are humiliating them and just saying all these things, they are kiki kakaing. They are nodding their head like, that's what the Spirit of the Lord. The fact that this man is still mourning his wife and still telling you, let's have a relationship, you should know, like, and I understand the way we're being conditioned as women is to be so desperate to have a man. It's so desperate to keep a man. So even if that one is grieving or grieving his ex-wife, or you're still just going to hold on. I've seen one. Let me hold on to him. I'm going to belong. I'm going to be very, very patient. The truth is that when it comes to a relationship, it should be a two-way thing. Would that man be patient with you if the shoes was the other foot? Would that man be patient with you if it was to be you? And if the answer is no, why are you giving that part of you that way? And I do understand. They've taught us we have to pour and pour until there's nothing inside that cup again. But the fact that this man sat down there and said it was a test. First of all, anything that has to do, I was just testing you. I test any type of relationship, friendship that I'm just testing you. I will fail that test. So when a relationship is going to that place where the person is intentionally testing you to get your reaction, See, and ladies, and we need to stand with our two legs, appreciate who we are, have some self-respect of who we are, what we are, and realize that being single is not a crime. A lot of women have jumped into relationships like this, that the man is not healed, that the man is still holding on to his past relationship, have went on to jump into relationship like that just for the fact for them to not be single. Because what? Society shame you people single. See, go and ask a lot of married. I'm a married woman myself. Go and ask a lot of married women, especially one that's married for like another 10 years, another 8 to 10 years. They will tell you and above. They will tell you, some of them, what they know now, if they know it, then they won't have gotten married. Secondly, there is nothing wrong being single. I know somebody will say, Destiny, you can say that because you're married and all that. No. I am telling you, coming from somebody that my mission this year is to really take in and absorb myself and love myself and be with me. There's nothing wrong with single. In fact, I personally, the way I love my me time, the way I love my solitude, the way I love being by myself, by the time you start enjoying yourself, by the time you start loving yourself, and being single will not be a problem for you, because that's one of the things a lot of women are running from, sitting down in their own thoughts, sitting down in their own element, sitting down in who they are as a person. They're just clinging on. Any man when he come. Us as women, we need to start learning to be in our own peace. We need to start loving our own company, loving your own self. A lot of women, some women have never been single before in their life. Because from one to another, calm down. Because what's this one? I don't know if there's another couple that's going to come and drag the woman, but you guys know Destiny will bring it for you people. But yeah, let me know what you think about this conversation down in the comment section. Keep it respectful. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have banging conversations. So go on and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push up my content for more people to see. And that'll be you supporting this channel and this girl here. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.